Hello and welcome to DY's banner review for 2024 Valentines Flash. So, before we start, I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be changing these banner videos a little bit. In the past, I spent quite a bit of time scripting and editing the banner videos, and while I do like how they turned out, they were very time and energy consuming. And it's something that I would rather spend on making other kinds of video guides for GBF. And at their core, these videos were really only relevant when they release, as I would normally just give my first impressions and my recommendations on whether to pull the banner or not. So moving forward, I think you guys will see slightly less edited videos for these banner reviews, and if I'm really busy, I'll just post a stream clip from Twitch. And instead I'll be spending that time making some proper guides that I've been wanting to do since I started the channel in the first place. So I hope you guys understand. I'm currently working on a combat guide for GBF aimed at very new and beginner players. So please look out for that one when it releases. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So this banner brings us two new characters. We have Cidala, who has a very adorable animation here, and we also have Nehan. So, straight off the bat, both these weapons are not really too good, so you don't have to worry about that, thank God. But let's talk about Cidala first. So, Cidala, an attacking unit, dark, axe, so much like her Earth version here, and also similar to her Earth version, she shares this linked skill mechanic, so you can only use one of these at a time. Now, the S1 here is much more focused on buffing offensive buffs, and the second one is much more about defensive buffs. They both have this additional effect thing, and this is activated whenever you chain burst from your second passive here. Tide of Chaos is a Dark's full chain, so all 4 OGs must occur for this to happen. And when this happens, you get an effect which lets you use both skills at the same time and also get the additional effect. At a glance, these buffs are solid. Yeah, strength is good, triple attack boosted, we'll have to see the proper numbers for this, but this is solid as well. Charge bar is also good. And the echo and triple attack guaranteed, based off its wording, is only to Cidala. So it's decent, it's decent. It's a long cooldown, but the cooldown is lowered upon her charge attack also. So there's that. The second effect, very defensive. Ooh, I think how valuable this skill is really depends on what this damage mitigation value is, because this is quite a strong defensive buff in my opinion. I think as the game moves forward, skills like this will become increasingly more powerful. There is this sub-all effect as well. Sub-all with dodge is very powerful. Certain endgame raids these days, however, have ways to bypass this. So if you look at like Hexachromatic Hierarch or Sub-HL, they both have a way to bypass this in Godsight. And certain raids, although it's not a light raid, actually I think Cosmos does too, but certain raids, the triggers or omens just bypass dodge altogether. So you will have to watch out for those sorts of special attacks, but other than that, it's a very solid skill regardless. Okay, and then this third skill does 2-hit dark damage, stackable attack and defense down, and the really cool thing here is that we get this new debuff. Damage taken is supplemented, stackable. And the thing that's really cool about this debuff is that it is global. So it affects everybody. It affects the boss itself and everybody in the raid can see it. Until now, any sort of supplemental debuff on the boss has been local, meaning that only your team gets it, right? But because it's in this circle icon and its duration is in seconds, what this means is that everybody sees it. We'll have to see what the numbers are. This is an entirely new debuff, so yeah, we just have no idea. In the past, things like Kaguya S3, for example, stacks up to 30k supplemental. So maybe this will be a bit less than that because it's a global modifier. We'll have to see. But either way, very cool. So 3 debuffs on the skill, so already for V2 this is looking pretty good because it does a bunch of hits, dispels, gives a bunch of debuffs as well, so pretty good for that. And this is auto-cast when she has this coupled confection effect from her first passive. Now she also gets this at the start of battle, and from screenshots we know that this buff lasts 3 turns. So when she has it for 3 turns, she will, when she normal attacks, she will auto-cast this, and also her normal attacks will be supplemented and they will be a 2-hit flurry, which is obviously very good again. She has guaranteed double attacks here as well. Overall, I think Cidala is looking to be a really solid full auto character. She has really good team buffs, both on the offensive and the defensive side. Maybe in full auto you won't get too much value out of her second passive, just because you have to proc a full chain, but Dark also has a couple characters that bogey multiple times when they charge attack, like Fadil for example, right? So maybe proccing it won't be too bad. I also think that Cidala will be very useful in certain V2 raids as well, in HL raids, because her skills lend to well to those omens. A lot of those omens tend to be things like do X amount of debuffs or do a certain amount of hits, and Cidala's hit revolves around, or some of her kit revolves around doing those debuffs and doing those hits. So, and charge attacks as well. So, and her kit also gives you uplift, right? So in that sense, I think she'll be quite useful in those sorts of raids. She might even be useful in Super Far next week. We'll have to see then. Overall, pretty solid character. I don't think she's meta defining or anything like that. Definitely not a burst character, but all around, pretty good character. Alright, let's move on. Nehan. Nehan, a supportive fire unit this time round, just like his light version, but his buffs are very different this time. His charge attack, very similar to the light, it restores HP and it cuts his cooldowns by 3 turns. His cooldowns are very long, 18, 16, 14. These will likely be reduced when he levels up, probably like 16, 15, something like that. But yeah, either way, this one, it gives a buff to another fire ally for 25% of his HP. Now, this is not like his light version. His light version lowers his max HP. This one just consumes it, so it means that he takes 25% damage, essentially. This buff, it lasts for 8 turns, so it's a really long buff, but it's only on one ally that you must select, and it gives double attack, wind damage lowered, normal attack amplified, and then this one, it's worded weirdly, but it's basically critical strike chance, and probably not a chance, but guaranteed, so 100% crit, and then drain on the last buff here. This is an okay buff. I think the main strength of this buff is the fact that it's all unique icons, so it stacks with other sources, right? So if you have another crit, this probably stacks with it. If you have another drain, this stacks with it. Yeah, most of the time unique icons like this will stack with the other buffs, so I think that's the main strength here. Even the normal attack damage amplified might stack. Previously, I don't think we've had a mod like this in the past. So I'm not sure if it will stack, but people will test and we'll have to see. But it is I think the main strength of this buff is that it's unremovable and it lasts a long time. But on their own, the buffs aren't anything crazy. It's not like light Nehan's S1 or S2 or S3 or anything like that. Okay, moving on. Next one. Nourishment effect to another fire ally and gives them instant CA standby, and it consumes 30% of Nehan's max HP. So, and then the effect that it gives is that charge bar will be boosted after you charge attack, and then CA reactivation at the end of the effect, which is after 2 turns. So basically, you get charge attack instantly. After you charge attack, you get charge attack again on the next turn, and then on the third turn, oh wait, no. Yeah, on the third turn, sorry, you'll get CA reactivate. So you'll have essentially charge attack for 3 turns, and on that third turn, you get double Ogi. I think this is probably one of the strongest skills here. I can see this sort of effect being useful for certain characters. Like for example, Mikhail's S1 has been really useful in activating Willness in the past. I don't think Nehan will replace Mikhail. I think Mikhail provides too much for that sort of team, but I think this skill can be useful for a different type of team. But we'll have to see. Next, Elysium. Shield effect to fire allies, sharp boost to debuff resistance, buffs can't be removed. So 5 turn Veil, 5 turn Dispel Cancel, and a certain amount of shield. A decent defensive buff. I'm not quite sure how much the shield is, but I'm expecting that it's a solid amount. And the Veil and the debuff res is situationally very powerful. It really depends on what the boss does. In Guild War Full Auto, this could be nice, but the problem with Full Auto with this character is that these 2 skills must be targeted. And I think that's what might make this character not very good in Full Auto, just because most of his kit doesn't work there. Alright, next. This passive, very similar to Light Nehan's passive. He has low defense, high dodge rate, and when he doesn't take damage, he does a 6-hit fire damage to a foe. So it's a little bit different. Light Nehan is on dodge. This one is when he doesn't take damage. So it's a little different, but either way, it is an auto nuke. And then the final passive here, tank and counter effect 2 hits to an ally with Sweet Treatment, which is the first skill here. And then upon the allies charge attacks, it boosts Nehan's charge bar by 20% and it gives him mitigate damage taken. Overall, I think Nehan is designed to be used for more high level content, so we'll probably see when Superfar comes out, but I also think he faces quite stiff competition, especially in recent releases like Noah for that context. Off the top of my head, I can't really see any clear synergies here, but I think a kit like this is a little underwhelming when you just look at it on paper, but it has potential. I think, as I mentioned earlier, this skill perhaps in the future can be paired together with a character that could really benefit from it. And we're only a couple hours into the banner as well at the moment, so maybe there are things that people haven't figured out just yet. So overall, not very useful for Full Auto, definitely not a burst character, and maybe HL, but probably looks a little niche at the moment. Alright, and then finally, the last raid up on the banner. If we go down here and we check this, we can see that the final raid up is Cosmos. So, Cosmos. With Light Guild War coming up, you might be asking, hey, is Cosmos worth it for Light Guild War? I don't think pulling this banner for Cosmos alone is worth it, because the characters themselves, Cidala and Nehan, I don't think are fully worth it. I missed Cosmos. Ah, there she is. So yeah, I don't think it's fully worth it, and Cosmos I don't think is important enough for Light as well. She's mostly used for HL content, places like Augustia, and she can be used for some charge attack full autos too, as this skill here gives her a really big charge attack buff, and it lets her charge attack activate twice as well. So overall, this banner, I would personally recommend skipping this banner. I don't think the characters are high enough quality here. I think Cidala is probably the better out of the 2 Valentines if you had to make me choose. But overall, I would wait on this banner especially because we have anniversary coming up. So normally, to give a little bit of context, normally every January we get a new grand. This year we didn't, which means that we might be getting a grand in February instead. Last year, at the end of February, we got Luo. Luo was a new grand for that banner. So we might be getting a new grand also at the end of February, so I think saving your pools for potentially for that banner is perhaps better, even though it's a grand versus a seasonal, just because of the quality of these seasonals. And then the other thing is, even if there's no Grand there, we have March Anniversary Flash. The thing about that Flash banner is that pretty much guaranteed we have a new Grand, but also there's summer characters on that banner. New summer characters. So it's not just a seasonal banner, but also a new Grand. So I think unless you're sitting on a lot of rolls or these characters are your favorite characters ever, I think saving your pulls for that March banner is probably better. And it's discounted because there's roulette as well. So yeah, I think with that banner coming up, and at the end of March, there is also the All Zodiac banner where you can spark any of the Zodiacs that you want. I think those banners just are a lot more competitive than this one here. So that will do me for now. I guess if you guys are pulling, good luck. Stay strong if you're saving, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.